Welcome everybody to Healthy Aging, a class where we do a variety of different things, from sitting in a chair to standing to being on the floor. The goal of this posture, this class, and the poses in the class are to begin to help you look at your joints and how your body moves, and every day can be a little different. Any postures that we do from sitting, you can also, I would say probably over 99% of them, you can also do standing. You can also, rather than sitting on the floor or sitting on a chair, if you want to be on the floor, you can also sit on the floor. We change it up a little bit, sometimes starting from the floor. Today, we're going to be in our chair. Have your props near you. We will be using them from the chair. Again, if you want to do some things standing, feel free to do whatever postures we're doing from standing. But for right now, sitting in your chair, sitting on your props on the floor, come up to a comfortable sitting posture with your spine erect over your pelvis. Take a moment here just to move around and shake yourself around, shake out a little bit just to sort of get your stiffness out, and then settle into the buttock cheeks. Now begin to notice whether your sit bones are feeling like you're sitting straight on top of them, a little forward or a little behind. And find that place where you can settle in. And then you begin, as you settle in, to quiet the mind by the focus of your breath. So just begin to notice the gentle coolness on the outer edges of your nostrils. You may sense the belly or the sides of the ribs expanding on the inhalation and contracting as you exhale. This is called centering. And whether you're doing a centering from seated position, whether on the floor, on your sofa, on the edge of your bed, in a chair, or you're on your back, or you're on your belly in crocodile, we want to just find that place where we can bring ourselves in and begin the journey of letting go whatever has occurred during our day. Whatever has brought you to this place right now, we want to begin to shed. So sense the air coming in and the air moving out. We continue to focus on how to work to let go and allow energy, the healing energy of our prana, the energy of our breathing, to support us in our day-to-day life, to cope with COVID, to cope with any of our own personal traumas or issues that we're facing. Yoga and the breath of yoga helps us to stay focused on what truly is important. So on a daily basis, it is important, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or even just 3 minutes, to find this centering. Let people know, don't bother me for the next 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is that you choose. And if they come to you, they open your door and they come to you and you're trying to find a centering, you're trying to find relaxation, don't respond to them. Especially for those of you who have little ones around. That's an important aspect for them to learn, that when you are in this space with your eyes closed or your eyes soft, even if they're yelling at you, hard, I know, don't respond. They'll eventually walk away and they'll recognize that this is your time. So now begin to journey into the base of your buttocks, the sit bones. And you're going to take a moment just to move slightly forward if you're sitting way back on your chair. And you're just going to move forward and back on those sit bones. Your feet are hip width apart. Your knees are directly over your ankles. If you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, you're sitting cross-legged. Just worry about that your knees are equal to or lower than your hips. And you begin to sense this movement in your pelvis, beginning to move forward and back. So as you inhale, the ribs and the hips come further apart. And as you exhale, the hips and the ribs come closer together. Okay? Cat and cow. We'll do a few more here. And then find your way where you're, again, lengthening, but you're not moving anymore. And just take a moment to close your eyes and settle into your sit bones and notice where your spine is in relation to your tailbone. We're going to come back to cat and cow. This time we're going to focus at the navel center. So as you exhale, slide your hands forward. Notice how your sit bones come forward and the back rounds, but you're concentrating on what's happening in the rib cage. Inhale, as the sit bones move back, slide your elbows back, and notice how the ribs broaden and open. Exhale, contract, hands come forward, sit bones come forward, and ribs and hip joints come closer. So there's a contraction right in the lower abdomen. I move back and forth here, focusing at your navel center. Your sit bones are still moving back and forth, but your focus is at the breath right at the navel center. Last one. Once again, travel up from your sit bones, up through the spine. Notice that your elbows are sort of at your waist, palms are facing down. Close your eyes for a moment and sense the breath expanding and contracting. For the last aspect of this posture, we're going to focus right at the sternum, at the heart center, or the top of the psoas muscle. So as you exhale and you bring your hands forward, notice how the shoulder blades move apart, but notice how the heart center sinks in and the collarbones come in. As you inhale, your collarbones broaden, the shoulder blades come towards each other. So move back and forth between these two spots, focusing at your heart center, the front of the heart and the back of the heart. The sit bones are still moving back and forth. The navel center, the lower abdomen is still opening and closing, but now the focus is at the heart and the space between the shoulder blades. One more. Once again, come up to sitting. Notice if there's any difference in how you're sitting and how you feel in your sit bones and in your spine. Then raise your arms so you're nice and tall. Take your arms down to your side, raise your arms up. Turn your palms facing outward, thumbs facing forward. Pull the lower belly in. Notice how the heart opens. And as the heart opens, notice how the arms move backwards, bringing the shoulder blades towards each other. And then begin to turn your palms up, rotating at your wrists, the thumbs backwards. And then inhale, turn your thumbs back to the ceiling, and then back towards the floor, and rotate your thumbs. And when you rotate, you're rotating at the wrist, not from your shoulder. So inhale up, exhale down. And again, if you prefer to come standing and work standing, feel free to do that. And then bring your arms all the way up and stretch one side longer than the other. If you're standing, you're pressing the arm that you're reaching up, press down with that foot. If you're sitting, use your sit bones. You can even let the arm travel way down towards the waist. So I'm going to come standing so you can see what this is like. So you get a nice little side stretch when you're standing or when you're sitting. Okay. And then come back to center. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. So again, if you want to be standing, you can feel your feet really pressing into the floor. Take the palms in front of you. Bring your elbows up. Let the shoulders come up and then begin to open. Notice how your palms open to the ceiling like you're serving a platter and then come down. So continue. I'll show you sitting now. It's the same thing. Doesn't change because I'm sitting. But as you come up, you're open. And as you exhale down, begin to hinge from your hips. Come forward and back up. If you're standing, I'll go sideways. You begin to round and open. So that same piece of cat and cow that you did sitting is in place here. All right, you've been doing that for a while now, so let's reverse that. Squeeze your shoulder blades, turn your palms open, moving from the wrist. Notice how the thumbs start to move. Bend your elbows and come forward. Continue for a few more. I'm just going to come into sitting for those of you who are sitting. One more. And then shake that all out. And I need to stand to shake that all out for my body because I like to move my legs, my arms. And then if you can, come up to standing here. And we're going to make circles. So the hip joints get very, very tight, and that causes our lower back, our hamstrings to also, and our shoulders to also feel impaired or tight or tense. So just doing a little bit of movement here, nothing specifically huge, and then go the other way. But this begins to release, because you'll notice you have to bend your knees, and you really get into the hips, okay? And shake all that out. I'm going to come back to my chair here, and we're going to get nice and long. So if you prefer to stand, you're just going to stretch from side to side, and then come forward. And let's come into a little forward bend. So pull the belly in, lift through the heart, and come forward. If you are standing today, it's a beautiful day today. Hopefully when you're doing this, it's a beautiful day. You can use your chair or you can use your body. You can just take your arms up and hinge over to Uttanasana, forward bend, whether here or using your chair or blocks. All right. Come on back up. I'm going to take your legs pretty wide, turn your toes slightly in, scoot your butt backwards, and come forward. This is a variation of child's pose. If you have another chair in front of you, you can always put your forearms in front of you, in front. And pull the belly in, lift through the heart, and just wiggle around side to side. And then come back up to center. Get nice and long again, stretching your body out. And let's just turn sideways. I'm working with some people privately at the studio. We've been doing a lot of this kind of work. And people who have, especially hip replacements, are finding, and knee replacements are finding that this is incredibly helpful for them. So this is a lunge. If you prefer to do a standing lunge on your chair, feel free to do that. We might do that in a little bit, but for right now, I just want you to get your hip. It's not about the lunge. It's about releasing the hip. So come to where you're comfortable. I'm coming pretty close to the edge of my chair so I can dangle. I'm more interested in you dangling this leg straight down. I'm holding the back of my chair, but I'm not leaning into my chair. I'm actually trying to pull my arm in and lift my torso up. And then I'm going to take my awareness to my left hip, and I just want to draw it straight down. So I'm continuing to make adjustments as I let go. Now, if you're somebody whose knee is like flat on the floor because you're tall, you may want to put something underneath your shin or sit on something so you're higher on the ground, on the floor. So having your pillow or a bunch of blankets where you're sitting on that, you'll see this in a moment. You'll see my knee is now not as low to the floor, but it gives me a little bit more length. So again, if you're tall, especially 5'7" or higher, my suggestion is to put some blankets or pillows on your chair to let this release, okay? If you are somebody who wants to go deeper into the posture, then you can stretch here. But now I'm getting into my back. I'm not so much, I am still stretching my psoas muscle. I'm also stretching the bottom of my foot. So just think about where you need to be, whether here or just even turning your toes under here. And so you're just getting a nice little lengthening. And then come on back up to center and come back. And just notice, before we go to the other side, we want to notice what we begin to open and let go here. Okay? You'll also begin to notice as you pull in with your elbows right by your side that this side not only feels longer, but you feel you can have maybe a little bit more opening on that side. All right? So let's try the other side. I'm going to keep my pillow on my chair. And I'm going to have my left knee directly over my ankle. And I'm going to adjust my body so that I can hold the back of my chair and I can pull the belly in and I can feel that length of my spine. And it's more about letting the hip draw downward. Okay? And as this hip draws downward, I can adjust my back leg. I can keep my toes flat. I can just turn my toes under, or I can stretch the leg back into more of a full chair lunge here. But again, for most of us, it's just about letting that release. Some of you may be beginning to feel like, when you get up from a car ride or from a chair, you go, oh, my hip. So really opening that up is nice. All right. And when you're done, come back to center. Open up the legs and come forward. For that, I do not need my pillow. And then you don't need to stay there very long. Just maybe take 3 more breaths there. And then we're going to take the soles of our feet together. So some of you I know like to use your blankets or your pillows and put your soles of your feet together. So your big toe to the big toe, the little toe, and you open up. For some of you, you don't need that at all. Your legs are long enough that you can be here. What we're looking to do is to create more space between the ribs and the hip joints. And I'm playing in my body, seeing, see, today, this feels better to me for some reason. Usually I don't do it with that. But I'm trying to open my inner thighs. So you feel your inner thighs releasing to your outer thighs. And when that happens, you'll notice your sit bones are backwards and your heart lifts upwards. And you can just breathe here. For those of you who would like a little bit more, you can roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Grab the back of your chair or the sides of your chair and get nice and open. You can even roll your shoulders up, back, and down and place your hands on the seat of the chair. So wherever you are, what you're doing is you're getting this beautiful opening. Excuse me, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. You get this beautiful opening in the front of the body. And that opening of the front of the body begins to allow the back of the body to lengthen and come forward. And that's what helps us to get out of some of the back issues. So the more back issues you have, the less forward bends you want, the more chest openers you want. All right, so let's come back to center. And we're going to come into a downward dog. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to use the seat of my chair. You may choose to use anything that you have, including a wall. And I'm going to turn my chair around. And I'm going to step back into my downward facing dog. I'm going to push my heels away, bend my knees, and get long in my spine. And if I want to, I can walk in place, lifting one heel and then the other, which gets me into the side ribs of my body. If you are interested, you can do a cobra. Now you can come onto the floor to do a cobra or onto the wall because we're going to still stay standing. Or you can just wrap your hands around the side, walk your feet back, and come forward. And I know that this is challenging for many of you, but make sure you're not collapsing, that you're lifting up and then come back and forth. So you can do this on the chair. You can also do it on your wall, which is going to be a little challenging for me because I have all these props here, but I'm going to just try to show that to you. So I'm walking back into my downward facing dog on the wall. And then I walk my hands back up. I'm showing this rather quickly so you can do this. Take your pelvis to the wall. Now my hands are below my shoulders, okay? And my navel center's to the wall. And then I can walk back and forth. And do that maybe 2 more times, please. And then finally, come back up to standing. So again, you can do this sitting, but if you have been sitting for a while, try doing some standing. Take your feet, or this part you can't, take your feet a little wider apart and make circles. So we're just making circles. We're doing cat and cow here. Let's go the other direction. We're going to use the long edge of our mat. So I'm going to go sideways for you, but you're going to have your feet open wide. Your chair is going to be in front of you. And we're going to bend our knees. So I'll show you what it's going to look like for you. And then I'm going to go sideways so you can really see me so that my chair's not in the way here. So you come with your feet, long edge of the mat, toes turned in, heels turned out. We're going to bring our hands behind our head. So you can do that now. I will turn sideways so that you can see my whole body for those of you who need to come out of the posture and see me. But for right now, we're all here together. Okay? Pull the belly in. Notice how your elbows move back and your heart opens and the shoulder blades squeeze together. This just allows us to get into a nice length. From here, you can just take your hands and place them on your thighs, bend your knees, push your knees out, and you're going to hinge over. And this is where, hi, you can't see me because of the back of my chair. And your hands can be interlaced, or your hands can be, or your forearms can be on the chair. So this is where I will go sideways. So you can see my spine is nice and long, and I'm not collapsed in my shoulders, but I'm pulling my belly in, which then helps me. And you're going to go side to side. So we get right into that hip joint and into the inner thighs. I know my inner thighs are always tight. So just go from side to side. And then come up and take your right hand into the center on your chair. And you're going to give you 2 choices. You can bring your hand straight back with your palm facing up to the ceiling and lift and open to get this twist. So your right hip comes with you. And then we'll come back to center and come to the other side. We'll go back and forth a few times here. So inhale, right ribs move around to the left. Make sure you're not pulling your head. So let's just drop our head for a minute and then turn your head. And there's so much more opening you get to lift the heart. And then come back to center. And then from here, put both hands on the edge of your chair. Walk your heels, toes, heels, toes, heels, toes. Walk back into downward facing dog. And if you want, you can let go of the chair and grab your elbows and hang over the ragdoll. Now, this is not good for somebody who has a lot of back issues. So that's where staying here or putting your hands on your thighs so that you're more of a right angle at 90 degrees, and then take your hands up when you're done and come all the way up. So if you were in a ragdoll, release, come into a flat back, and come all the way up to standing. Nice. Okay. Make a little sphere with your hands. So your fingertips are not touching. A little ball here. Pull the belly in and up. And you can do this from sitting. So those of you who now go, okay, Pam, I just worked my legs. I need to have a seat. Feel free to do that. All right. So push your heels away for those of us who are standing. And notice how your hands become wider. So your sphere became a lot bigger. Okay. Take your eye gaze towards the edge of your sphere outward. And move over to your right leg. And if you're sitting, you're going to lift your left knee. If you're standing, you're going to just try to toe touch. And then release, shake that out. Shake out your legs, shake out your arms. Come over to your left leg, make the sphere. Bend your right knee. If you're sitting, you're going to lift your left leg. If you're standing, you're toe touching. And release, and throw away the ball. Throw it away. Let go. Because you really want to work to let go. All right? All right. One of the last things we're going to do here before we come down to the floor, we are going to come back to our chair. We're going to get our strap. I happen to love working with straps in this posture with you. I think it really builds a lot of strength that you don't usually use. I'm hoping that you're learning to use it. So begin to journey into pulling the belly in and up, and notice how your sit bones automatically went backwards and the heart lifted upwards, right? That's an important aspect, because if we let it go, notice how you collapse. When you collapse, you can't lengthen, you can't open, and this is where pain starts to move into those joints. So what I'd like you to do here is you're going to double your strap, and you're going to place it underneath your right thigh. Your thumbs are going to point downward. And I'm sitting forward on my chair because that gives me more control in my body. And as I pull in and up, you can feel your sit bones moving backwards, the heart lifting upwards, the collarbones broadening, and the shoulder blades coming together. But what I am not doing is squeezing my shoulder blades together. It's just a natural place for my body to go. And then I'm going to shift my weight over into my right sit bone, and I'm going to attempt to lift my leg. I'm going to lower it and release. So let go, and then move in with your breath, inhaling. Lift and take one round of breath, inhaling and exhale, letting your right sit bone draw down into the chair. And then inhale and exhale, let go completely. A lot of work, a lot of effort. Let's go to the other side. So pull in and up, open, shift your weight into where you need to, so you can feel, right now you feel your left sit bone pressing down, but you also feel your right foot pressing down. And that's what gets you to lift that leg. Don't bring your leg back, you'll get a cramp. Better to move your leg further out than do that, and come on down and let go completely. Inhale, exhale, lift. And then release. Let the body come long. Stretch one side longer than the other. And now we're going to use both the upper and lower body. So now we're going to open up our strap. Take the strap onto the instep of your foot. One hand, one finger, you can see my thumbs are on the top. Do not turn this way. Elbow creases face each other. Now I'm going to pull the belly in and up, and I'm going to straighten my right leg. And if I can, I'm going to extend through my heel. Once I'm there, you can either choose to stay there or put the strap into your right hand. Without moving the left leg, take your right leg out, take your left arm out, lift the heart, and get nice and open. We'll take 3 breaths. And then inhale, bring everything in, bend your knee, totally let go. Excellent. Other side. One hand on each strap, thumb down, lift your leg, pull the belly in, everything is opening. Once you've got that, take it in, both straps into one hand, take your left leg out, extend through the heel. Now I noticed that my heel wanted to turn out or turn in towards the inside of my body. So I'm going to turn my leg slightly out, and I get a little bit different opening in my knee, in my hip joint, bringing the right knee in, taking the arm out. Thumb turns up, open. And then release. Bring everything together. And we're going to work our way down to the floor. So in a moment here, you can choose to either come forward if that works for you, or my body is saying, I don't really want a forward bend. I want length in my spine from just this opening. I want to bring it all back together. So I'm going to come, whether you're doing it on your mat or you're doing it with a chair, downward facing dog, because now I can pull my belly in and up. And I get nice and long in both my spine and my legs. And I can feel the contraction between my hip joints. And then I'm going to come up. My body just wants to come here for a moment and then come back. And so you do what you need to do, and then we're going to find our way onto our back. We want to let go and release everything. And I'm going to put my little jacket back on because my room, my space is a little chilly on the floor because I actually have windows open. So I'm going to put my little jacket back on. You're going to come onto the floor. Some of you will have a little pillow under your head, possibly. Do have your block or pillow near you. And since we did a lot of work sitting just to pull in, I would like you just to work to let go of your tailbone. And for some of us, being on the floor, it might take a few breaths just to let go. I like to rock my head from side to side. And then begin to, once you feel that release, and again, it may take several of you, I know it's taking me a little bit of time, just to let go of that tailbone. But then I want to start to pull in. So I'm going to contract my navel center. I'm going to contract my hip joints. I'm going to feel the feet pressing into the floor. And I begin to feel how the lower back and the pelvic floor all pull in. And then I release. And I'm going to contract. And the more I can, on that contraction, the more I can feel like I'm pulling into the center, the more my body begins to let go and release. Exhale, contract. And inhale, let go. Notice again the pelvis. So notice that as you inhale, the lower back's coming off and the ribs and the hip joints come away from each other. Really focus on now as you exhale, everything's pulling in, so the ribs and the hips come closer together. The inner thighs move closer together. The back begins to separate and release into the floor. And then I'm going to inhale, let go. I'm going to do that a few more times here. And then on the next time you release, you're going to take your block or your blankets, whatever you're going to use, you're going to put it underneath your tailbone. And at that point, whatever, if you did have something under your head, you won't need it anymore. So just underneath your tailbone, and we come into this wonderful restorative bridge posture. And some of you may wish to get a little bit of a chest opener again. So bringing your arms into goalposts for a few breaths might feel pretty wonderful. Again, if you need something to support yourself, do that. If that doesn't work for you right now, we're not spending, if we were going to spend 2 to 3 minutes in that posture, I would show you how to support yourself. But if it doesn't work for you, just place your hands right on your ribs and your thumbs right at the base of your ribs, and take your elbows at a comfortable place on the floor just to let go. Because that's all we're trying to do here before we start to work. And then we're going to take our right knee and bring it over our right hip. We're going to wrap our hands around our thigh. And some of you, as I'm going to have to adjust my block, may not be able to get your hands here. You might need a strap. So whatever your body needs, I'm going to walk my shoulder blades towards each other, and I'm going to straighten my left leg. Make sure you feel the center of your heel on the floor and the toes turned up. Now I'd like you to take your awareness to your right hip and see if you can let the right hip release away from your ribs. You might feel a little bit more on your inner left thigh. Just notice and breathe. And then draw the right heel back up, release bring your left leg up, release your right, and come to the other side. Each side feels different, so adjust your body the way in which you feel you need to adjust. And allow the breath to guide you through the letting go, and if you feel like you need to move your body anywhere, let that happen. And then slide your right leg up, have your left leg come down, and then lift up and take out whatever cushion you have underneath you. And notice how your lower back can release a little bit more. You may wish to put something under your head. And then bring both knees into the chest and lift your legs up to the ceiling. Your hands can be out at your sides or on your ribs. Inhale, point your toes. Exhale, press through the heels. Getting into the joints. The joints and glands are such an important aspect of healing and healthy aging. It's incredible how much is working in the joints. So I'm making circles now very slowly. You might hear snap, crackle, pop. You might feel nothing. Whatever it is, it's okay. Go back the other direction. And then open up your legs wide. Inhale, point, and exhale, press. Make rotations. Go back the other direction. Bring your legs together, bend your legs. You can either stay here or you can contract your navel center and stretch yourself long. Now, I happen to have a folded blanket right over my head, and my forearms are resting right on that. So it gives me a little bit more height to get into my shoulder joint. If anything's behind you, feel free to use that. And then come back to center. I'm going to use this blanket to put under my head. And now I'm back to constructive rest posture. I'm going to take my right ankle and I'm going to cross it over my left knee for cradles. Now, some of you may want to put a block underneath your left foot, while others of us can lift our left foot and wrap our hands around our thigh or our knee and breathe. So you feel it on the back of your right thigh. And if I have my hands on my shin, and today I feel a little tight in there, so I'm placing my hands on my thigh. Gives me a little bit more space to move my right thigh away from my rib cage or my arm. And then I'm going to rock side to side to find my center. Once I find center, which means I'm not listing to the right, I'm going to just breathe for about 5 breaths. And then I'm going to let go and release. Back to constructive rest posture. And then when you're ready, you go to the other side. Whatever you did on one side, you want to do on the other. So I'm rocking slightly here. You might have a block underneath your foot. And I'm breathing. And then you're going to release. And we're going to come into a very beautiful twist today. Some of you will have something under your head. When I do a twist, I don't usually have anything under my head because I use something between my knees, but that's my body. Most of you need both. So think about what works for your body. We're going to bring our knees into our chest. I'm going to take my blanket. I'm going to put it between my ankles and my knees. And I'm going to have my ankles and my knees and my knees and my hips in a right angle. And today I'm going to lift my head and I'm going to turn it to the direction of my knees. So now I have my opposite arm, my collarbone nice and open, and my wrist, my palm open to the sky. You can also take that hand and place it on your rib cage and breathe. So wherever your hand is, see if you can breathe. If your hand is touching your body, see if you can feel the breath in the palm of your hand. If your palm is out at the side, turned up, just breathe into the top rib cage. When you feel done on this side, lift your top leg, take out whatever was between you, place the feet on the floor, and then readjust. And now we'll come to the other side. So bring your knees into your chest. A lot of times I don't put this between until I'm here. So, all right, and bring your knees up and take your heels away from your buttocks so that the opposite collarbone is open. And you can take your hand onto your ribs. Wherever you are, your elbow still stays on the floor. So if your elbow's off the floor, you want to put something underneath it or put something under your shoulder or your head. That will really help. And breathe. When you're done, bring the top leg up, roll onto your back. Put something under your head, put something under your knees if you need it for Shavasana. So some of you will put your pillows or your blankets or your props, your bolsters underneath your thighs. Moving my props out of my arm's way. Rock your head from side to side. And then allow the toes, bring your awareness to your feet, and allow the toes to roll open. And now that as the toes roll open, notice where the heels touch the earth. And just continue to watch your breath here. Letting the inner thighs release from your outer thighs. And then notice how your heels not only touch the earth, but your hips roll open. So as the heels turn in and the toes turn out, the inner thighs are releasing to the outer thighs. This allows your right hip to move to the right and the left hip to move to the left. Then draw your awareness to the space between the two hip joints
and exhale. And as you exhale, let go of the tailbone and the buttock muscles. It's a lot of tension that gets held here. So say to yourself, buttock cheeks, let go, release. Now bring your awareness into your lower back. And to find that place, inhale into the navel center and exhale to the back of the body, to the spine. And go 2 fingers up and let go. If any other part of your body is wanting to let go from your releasing, move around and, move whatever needs to be moved so you get the most release. Then travel up to the back of the heart, the space between the shoulder blades. And inhale up to the front of the heart, to the chest wall. And exhale from the heart center, the breastbone, back down to the back of the heart. And let go into the shoulder blades. Then draw attention up through the throat center into the center of the mind, that point behind the eyes, between the eyebrows. Let the lips part. Notice if you're clenching your jaw or your cheeks. Allow the tongue to soften and let go right into the eyebrow center, center of the mind. And now focus at the breath, at the center of the mind. So sense the cool air, belly rising. Sense the warm air, belly falling. Notice how slow the breath becomes. Notice how deep and released the breath has become. See if your breaths can become even without sound and without pause. Stay with the sensations of breath. The mind has become quieter. The breath has become slower. As the mind stays focused, it becomes easier to let go of what doesn't belong. But the mind tends to wander. And when you notice it wandering, just bring it back to watching the flow of your breathing.
You can come back to this place anytime you wish. Take 5 more breaths here, slow, deep, and even breaths. Without sound and without pause. And then bring your attention all the way down to the navel center. And if you choose to stay here, that's fine. But for those of you who are ready to move throughout your day, begin to breathe a little deeper into the lower abdomen. Getting a sense of the outline of your body. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Stretch your body long. Stretch one side longer than the other. And eventually bring your knees into your chest. Roll over to one side, doesn't matter, and stay there. Notice how the mind has become quiet and all the things that appeared to be affecting you when you started your practice, no longer are in that view. They'll come back, that's okay, but for right now, notice how you were able to quiet the mind. Whatever worked for you today, keep. Whatever didn't, throw away. It's okay, don't use. And when you're ready, come up to sitting, whether on your props on the floor or on your chair or the side of your bed or your couch, your sofa, or whatever it is that you have. But when you come up, make sure that you have an erect, long spine with your head, your shoulders, and your spine lengthening away from your pelvis. And then bring your hands to your heart or into prayer position. Bow your head gently, giving thanks to your mind, your body, your breath, and to the practice. Namaste.